Hi everybody, this is Ed. I'm here to do a little video on the Jetdock cubes and a way to repair them. So you can see this is Jetdock, right? These are mostly used for PWC or jet ski docks. They assemble into a large dock and you're able to pull your jet ski right up on top of them. And if you're watching this video, you know all about that. Earlier this year, I had the opportunity to buy quite a large dock, quite a number of cubes on the used market. Good deal. Some of them had issues, and I knew that going into it, so no big surprise. Pulled them all apart. We're here up by Lake Erie, so scraped all the zebra mussels off of them, power washed them, and they came out looking pretty good in general, right? But on 3 of these large cubes, we have, I guess down here, we have down here where the button is. So the way that these are made is rotoforming. Now, I've never seen one of these machines at work, but I can imagine that what happens is that there's a machine, the plastic gets injected into the mold, and the mold is kind of tumbled. And then the mold has this shape, and you eventually have this part. Well, you have to have a spot on it where there's a seam and where the plastic is actually injected into the mold. And so that's what this is. So they've got a little nipple, and they've plugged it up. Now, on 3 of them, you can't probably, but there is a split right down next to that piece. Now, my guess is, being an engineer, that that's probably higher stresses right where that is. And over time, going through heat cycles and cold cycles, most people leave these in the water around here all year round, and even when it freezes. And that can, cause a little bit more stress on these than not. So I contacted the company a couple of times to see what I could do about either repairing or buying new cubes. And those conversations were not rewarding. First time I spoke to them, they said they had no knowledge of any way that the cubes could be repaired. And because of their patent, that they did not publish a price list for buying additional cubes. The next time that I talked to them was that I wanted to send them over a list of all the cubes that I had, get a recommendation on a dock, and also to provide me with a cost for purchasing the additional cubes that I would need to create the dock that I wanted. What they told me that it was several $100s for their team to produce a design even, to be able to tell me what I would need, and then they tell me how much they would cost. Well, without knowing how much these cubes are new, other than I know that a full single PWC dock is $26.50 today, 2024 numbers. So that gives me an idea of how much each cube might cost. So there's also a motivation there to be able to repair these cubes. You need about, I want to say 16, 17 cubes to be able to make a dock. So they're about $130 to $150 each, which isn't bad if they just sell them to me, right? I'd love to be able to just go on their website, click a few boxes, and have them sent to me. I'd live no more than 5 miles away from them. Anyway, so here I am. I'm going to repair these instead of buying new ones. So I've got my cube here. I've already worked on one here, so that's my basis for how I'm going to be repairing these. Now, I do a lot of work on cars, so I have a good knowledge of adhesives and repair materials for the cars, and we're going to be applying those to these cubes. What I have is, the first stage of this is that I have this material here. It's by 3M. It's called a semi-rigid plastic repair, which sounds like exactly what we need for these cubes. It's 3M product 04240, and it's a two-part epoxy. And typically what this is used for is the front and rear bumper on your car. You know, they're flexible bumpers, and if you got into some sort of scuffle and you've got a rip in your bumper and you don't want to buy a new one, you can use this product to repair it, along with this mesh, I'll call it tape. So you put this mesh tape on over a broken piece and then fill it in with this epoxy. So we're going to do that as a step one, just as I have with the piece on the floor here. Step two is that once this is all dry, we're going to go back and we're going to cover it up with what's called Eternabond. Now this is a thick sealant tape that's typically used for trailers and camper roofs. So you can take this and you can, if there's any holes or leakage on your roof of your camper or your trailer, you'd use this product. I've used this product on our race trailers where we have thin aluminum roofs, and after about 5 years of use with enough fatigue, that aluminum will crack and you'll get a leak. You go up there, you clean up the area, you put the Eternabond on, and you never have to think about that area again, which is a great solution for these, except that they get stepped on, they get driven on with the jet ski, and what I didn't want to have happen was, because that's just kind of a rubber tape, I didn't want it to balloon out. So that'll keep water out, but it won't retain pressure. So the first step that we're going to do is with the 3M epoxy to create a great seal, but also create some strength so that it's sealed and it's going to retain the pressure of people walking on it and the hot and the cold and everything like that. So because of where this is at, if this didn't have this little button here, I would just go ahead and put a strip of this material down here and epoxy over the top of it, and I'll show you that in a minute. But first thing I'm going to do, though, because this big button is in the way and I can't really put the tape down there like that, is I'm going to use this cutoff wheel and I'm going to basically cut off where the button is. Safety first, safety glasses. So let me go ahead and do this, and while you're watching, that's not making me nervous at all. Okay, as anticipated, I've created a hole there where the button used to be. It's still half there, but see, I can stick my finger in the hole now. But obviously, this is a plugged up hole. So let me circle back and talk to you about this again. So if you're the original owner of a Jetdock and you have this kind of problem, they're, at least based on their website, they're willing to take care of you. The Jetdock cubes like this one have a lifetime warranty, but that warranty is only extended to the original owner. So because I bought these used, and I even talked to the fellow that I bought them from, and he bought them used, they're obviously not under warranty. It would be nice if Jetdock would have a warranty, since they're offering a lifetime warranty, and this is a defect, not something that's created from damage, that they would just replace it anyway. Something more like, I don't know, Snap-on, Craftsman, you know, you have a ratchet and it's not working. They don't care if it's 100 years old. They made it. They're willing to take care of you. You know, extended customer service, right? So now back to the cube, right? So if you've got a dock and you've got a cube with a problem, go see them. Don't do this. You don't need to, right? So it still has a little water in it, so before I get too far, now that I've made a hole, I'm going to get the rest of the water out, because it was a challenge to get as much water out as I did. But there was still a little bit left in there. If we can get as much out before we get too far, that's an advantage. How about that? Action before words. I'm sorry about that. So now that I took that little button off and made everything more or less flat, the next thing that I was going to do was I was going to scuff up the area so that when I applied the tape and then the epoxy actually had something to bite into, because if the surface is too smooth, then it won't bite in and it won't stick and it will just flake right off. So needed to get that done, and now it is done. So a couple of things I forgot to grab while I'm doing this is I want to have some acetone to clean up the area as well as clean up where I sanded before we go ahead and put the epoxy on. So now we got the acetone. Just so now everything looks like this. You might be able to see it a little bit better, that you can see where the crack is, right through here, right next to that button. And that's exactly where it is on the other two pieces too. And they weren't adjacent to each other. I don't think that they saw any real abuse to cause that. I think that that's just probably naturally where the stress is for these cubes. So now that I've done that, I'm going to take my mesh tape, figure out the size that I need. Just right about there. And then the width that I want, because I don't even want it as wide as this comes. Probably just cut it right down in half, and then I can use the other half of this for the next cube that I'm going to repair. All right. You peel it off, and it's got a sticky side, as you heard. So I'm just going to lay it down, right down over where we were just at, and it will stay where it's at. The sticky isn't really there to do anything other than hold it in place while you're working the material. So now that I've got that there, I'm going to be applying the epoxy with a spreader, which is normally used to spread things like Bondo. And again, not being as prepared as I could have been, I'm grabbing a piece of cardboard that I can mix the epoxy on off screen. So. Epoxy. So I'm going to take so normally what this would have is this would have this big long stem on it that would auto mix as it would come out, but those cost money, and if you're only using a little bit of it, I don't use them unless I'm really going after it on a bumper or something like that where I need a lot of this material. So, and that's the idea behind this fancy applicator, is as it would mix this as it would come out, but we're not doing that. So there it is instead. So I've got enough out here. Just going to mix it up. It's also black in color, which, helps go right along with the product itself. Now I'm going to take it, and I'm going to just smear it on here. Probably going to need to put some more out. It dries pretty quickly. It doesn't have a very long pot life, but that's okay. It's okay for what we're doing. If I were actually working on a bumper, you'd want it to be a little bit longer of a pot life. It almost has the consistency of tar as I'm putting it on here. See if you can see this. Make sure it's in focus. But I'm just kind of putting it on here, just like I might Bondo. Just can't even see where the hole was anymore. Well, I can, but I'm looking really close. So that mesh is completely saturated with the mixture. And this stage of the repair is complete. So now this will sit. I would leave it sit for a couple of days before I do anything else. I've got another one here. Now this one wasn't a factory defect, I'll call it. This one was damage from driving the jet ski up on it. The middle of the dock was here, and there was another cube here. This was the lower cube. And just from hitting that enough times, it creased it and put a hole in it. So I'll go find that razor knife again. So the Eternal Bond, actually all of these products, they can be had at, the 3M product can be had at auto paint stores. I think Amazon sells a lot of it too. It's not that hard to get. The Eternal Bond, I know for a fact that Amazon sells it because that's where I got what I have here. I would estimate the cost of the materials for the repair to be, if you were doing a lot of this, it would be worthwhile. But I think we probably are going to spend about $5 a cube repairing them. So now I've got this, and I'm going to go right over the area of repair. And again, this is just to create a secondary seal in case that original repair underneath with the 3M product gets a crack in it. So and that's it. All done, all repaired, ready to assemble into a dock. Still need more pieces, Jetdock, so still need to buy some more from you guys. So hoping that I can buy some from you. Otherwise, I'll be watching the used market. If anybody's got some used, especially if they got cracks in them that they don't want to fix, send them my way. I'll fix them up. All right. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later.